Hello and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. This is Brendan, your host of the show. Tonight we're looking back at the West Ham game. We just finished literally 15, 20 minutes ago. So we're joined by some fantastic guests working around the room. First up is Mr. Paul Muir. How you doing, Paul?
Evening. Yep. Frustrating game to talk about, but I'm sure we'll get into it in a moment. But it's very nice to be on with such esteemed some guests. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Also delighted to be joined by Rachel from the Supporters Trust. Rachel, great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you. Similarly, I'm feeling quite flat after that, but yeah, look forward to discussing it, and it's great to be on with very esteemed guests as well.
Also joined by Seb. How you doing, Seb Short?
Yeah, I'm not one of the esteemed guests. I don't think. I feel like you're scraping the barrel in the corner. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. There's a few bits to talk about. I look knackered as well. I completely forgot we were doing this on YouTube tonight. I thought I was going to be able to hide behind the microphone. Apologies.
Oh, your internet's gone a bit funny there as well, unless it's at my end. So, but all good. So, as Seb says, we are live on YouTube. So, do please give us a like and put your comments in. The best ones will get mentioned. And let's get into it. Also, with Rachel here from the Trust, we will be talking about the concession changes and season ticket price increases and the progress or lack thereof in terms of communication with the club in trying to get some leeway. But let's crack on into the game first of all. Let's start, as we always do, with the lineup. There's me with the mug, Seb. Sorry, I lost the mug. Sorry, Seb. So the lineup. I'll start with you, Rachel. What were your thoughts seeing it? I think two changes. Bentancur in for Sarr, which was a surprise, I thought, with perhaps Bissouma was the more likely switch, and Johnson in for Decky, which looked a bit more of an obvious switch after the weekend. What were your thoughts seeing the lineup?
I thought there were three changes, weren't there?
Oh, sorry. Van der Ven. Sorry.
Well, obviously, I think we all expected Van der Ven, and we're very happy to see Van der Ven come back. I mean, I think Dragusin was great, but Van der Ven is obviously a Rolls Royce. So we were really happy to see him. And Brennan, I love him, and I always put a tweet whenever he scores going, this one goes out to everyone who supported Brennan all the way, because that's what we should be doing. And I think he's such a bright prospect for the future. And obviously the first 20 minutes or so particularly, he really showed that. But, there is an argument for him coming on as a great sub. I thought Bissouma was really quite slow, let's just say, last week, and a bit sloppy in places. So I was quite surprised that it would be him rather than Sarr. But I do really, really trust Ange. I just think he knows, believe it or not, more than I do about how to pick a team for a particular opposition. So, I was confident.
Seb, as the football journalist in the room, why do you think why do you think
Why are you laughing, Paul? Why are you laughing?
It is his actual job. He's an actual sports journo.
I know.
Why do you think that, as Rachel said, that it was Sarr switched instead of Bissouma? Is it a tactical thing, looking at how West Ham set up? What do you think?
No, I think it's more to do with us. And I don't know, honestly, especially in a competency team such as West Ham, whether we've got another person who can sit and is disciplined enough to sit in the role that Bissouma does. So we've all argued that maybe Bentancur can do it, maybe Sarr can do it back in a game if you put him into that position. So I feel if Bissouma is anywhere near fully fit and suitably rested, etc., then he will start pretty much every game. At the moment, I don't think we've got a like-for-like replacement without taking some. They can do the job, but I don't think they can do it as well as Bissouma, who I didn't think. I agree with Rachel. I thought he was sloppy in places from what I saw on Saturday, but I thought he was actually quite good tonight. I thought he positioned himself very well, and that kind of proves Angie's point, if you like, within the lineup.
Yeah, Seb, your internet did cut out a bit there, but we'll crack on. It's something that I can sort out in the edit for the podcast, but people watching live. Anyway, Paul, the other changes, obviously, as Rachel said, great to have Van der Ven back. And Johnson, we spoke with you and I that podded on Sunday after the Luton game on the weekend. We did speak very highly of Johnson, and I think he deserved his call up today. Did you think that was the right move? Again, sort of bearing in mind how West Ham set up, they're a bit more of a low block, so less space for him to run into, but he got that goal right at the start. So what do I know?
Yeah. As if we said, we knew we weren't going to get a lot of space in behind. It wasn't going to be like Luton at the weekend where they push their fullbacks on and Johnson and Werner can take them the other way, so to speak. But Kulusevski was that abject for the first half at the weekend. I think Johnson did more than deserve to start, even though the way West Ham played might not be to his strengths. But yeah, I mean, typical Ange goal, wasn't it? He kind of like, good play down the flank. Opposite winger comes in. He can see the play develop in front of him. He knows when to time his run. I'm pretty sure the defender didn't know he was there and just got in front of the defender and side-footed it in. I thought Johnson at the weekend was superb. He was superb for Wales versus Poland. Again, what we spoke about on the pod, and he seems to have hit his stride a little bit with, some of the balls he put in today were really, really nice. So, yeah, he fully deserved his chance today. I'm a bit worried about Richie not starting against such a physical team as West Ham, but I thought Son did okay. He wasn't brilliant, but we kind of knew that, didn't we? We knew the way they were going to be physical. We knew the way Basuma plays football. We knew he was going to be physical with Son, and Son wasn't going to get a lot of joy. He had to kind of be quite smart with his movement. But the lineup itself, I was pretty happy with.
And Rachel, the opening sort of 15 minutes we were up until their goal, I thought we started really well. We got the goal. We were bossing things, and it felt like we could go on and not steamroller them, because we rarely do, but that we were in the ascendancy in the first 15, weren't we?
Yeah, totally. I thought the first 20 minutes I was just enjoying it so much and really looking forward to coming on here and thinking, I can actually talk about this amazing performance. It just seemed like they could not sit on the ball for 1 second. As soon as they got the ball, we got it back. We had 2 or 3 of our players getting it off them. Our ball control was absolutely fantastic. We were using the wings really well. It just seemed exactly what Ange had planned. And then, as you said, their goal was, it was so frustrating. And it totally was the pivot and changed really up until half time. I thought West Ham just got stronger and stronger. I couldn't wait for the halftime whistle. But yeah, we've really got to do something about these set pieces, because obviously we know that West Ham are a really strong, physically strong team. Antonio is, I loved it how they were saying what a lovely guy he is, the commentator on TNT. And I'm thinking, remember what they said about Rishi and things like that? I don't think, he's not my idea of a lovely guy, but he's a very effective player. And for 34, he's pretty phenomenal, I think.
He's 34, is he?
34. And he made it tough all the time up top. And I thought, that Zuma did remind me of a cat, strangely enough, as he leapt to get the ball into the net. And where was our doggy at that moment?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Brilliant.
But yeah, the first 20 minutes, as you said, Bran, was, it was a joy. It was exactly what we planned, and we seemed to be building momentum. But yeah, the goal really stopped it.
Because we could see it come. We were saying in the WhatsApp chat and in Patreon that the corners will be where they get the most joy, and they were putting Antonio, as you said, on Vicario. I gave every corner. It was almost like he was hiding as well. Like he crouched down as if to sort of, no one could see me here. It was strange. But Seb, I hear something else going on there. Seb, it looked like we were marking zonal. Is that something we've been doing all season? It just looked a bit strange for me.
I think so, yeah. And not a massive fan of it, because It's weird, kind of talking when you look at Football Manager. When you set your set pieces up, gives you a choice of zonal, man for man, or hybrid. And really, hybrid for me is that is what works, not only in the game but in real life. You have your space that you occupy, but you also need to be aware of incoming players. That's kind of how man from it should work anyway. This hybrid thing's a bit of a misnomer. And what happened was Zuma effectively hid behind Vicario, kind of out of the way, and then snuck in kind of from the line. The annoying thing was that at no point was he marked. At no point was there anyone aware of him, covering him, trying to stop his space, anything like that at all. So it's frustrating. Just to pick up on what Rachel said with regards to commentators, it's my bugbear, but I had the pleasure, if that's what you want to call it, of Martin Tyler, who I thought might have died, but no, he's still going, and he was awful and just kept saying how much of a derby this was. I just would like to ask a genuine question to you guys and to anyone watching. How long has this genuinely been a derby? Because when I was a kid, 6, 7, 10, whatever, I never, ever thought of West Ham. I mean, I know they were second division a lot of the time, but I never, ever, ever thought of it as a big game, a derby, anything that was kind of anywhere near Arsenal, certainly, and maybe a few other clubs. How long has this been a thing, or have I just missed it? Has it always been a huge London game? Is it something that they've made up because they've got no one else, other than Millwall? What's the thoughts?
Rachel?
I mean, obviously, we almost made it a derby by moving over to Stratford, but maybe that's when people started thinking about it. I think absolutely. Obviously, I've been around a lot longer, and I've always thought of it as Arsenal. Obviously, that's the derby. The next game I want to win, and I absolutely hate them, is Chelsea. Mm-hmm. And West Ham are sort of out there somewhere. Also, when I was sort of in my early 20s, I think, funnily enough, Millwall were in the first division, and so I sort of felt about Millwall as I did about West Ham. Horrible team from, they were obviously from Southeast London, but West Ham I never think of as our rival. But I do think they think someone actually said on the TNT pre-bit, this is our cup final, one of the West Ham supporters. So I think, they've probably built it up more. We matter more to them than they do to us.
Agree with that, Paul?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also, unfortunately, know quite a few West Ham fans from some of my former colleagues, and they always go on about, we were the first team to beat you at your new stadium, etc. That's the kind of mentality that comes through from a certain point, from a certain part of their fan base. So I agree totally with Rachel. I think it means a lot more to them than it ever does to us. I see people down the road in Arsenal, and then Chelsea the same. West Ham is just somebody we happen to play twice a year, as far as I'm concerned. I don't feel it's a big London game, not at all.
I'm trying to think. I started going mid-90s, and they were terrible then. This was when Julian Dix was the only player that they had that was always there. And they couldn't find a striker, John Hartson as well. And I'm trying to remember, the games weren't necessarily feisty. It was just a London derby. They are in London. We'll give them that. But for me, I think it is quite a recent thing, perhaps, that this trying to compete, maybe the move to the Olympic Stadium, because they've got 60,000 fans like we have now, and even though they're about 2 miles from the pitch, it's a competing sort of capacity. But yeah, I think it's probably more from them than from us. But going back to the game, Paul. Rachel was right there. The rest of the first half, and for the first sort of 15 of the second half, West Ham probably were bossing, at least in territory, until like second half, the last sort of 30, we put the foot down.
Yeah, we did. Again, it was obviously started well, which is quite nice after the last couple of games that we've seen where we haven't started well. But yeah, we kind of like we faded a little bit, and then the second half started, and which is unlike us actually in the last 8-10 games. Second half we've normally started quite strongly, and we just didn't seem to get a hold of it. Yeah, Paqueta kind of drifted. Bowen was coming more into it. Souček and Ward-Prowse were starting to kind of like get their act together. I thought Porro did a really good job on Kudos, but they just seem to have a lot more of the ball, getting a lot more of the ricochet second, the second balls as well, second phase balls as well. And we just, I get the feeling that we just kind of like, we were just holding stock 5-10 minutes. I didn't feel we were truly kind of ever going to be in any kind of danger of conceding, but it was just like we kind of conceded the momentum a little bit. Which was not worrying, but it'd be nice to like go and get that second or third goal and then really put the game to bed. But we do fade out of games. We haven't put together a full 90 minutes of good football for quite a while this season, in my opinion. And that tonight was another one. We played some really good stuff, some really quick stuff in 10, 15, 20-minute bursts, and then it's like we fade. It's like we just can't wait to get our second breath, and then we go again. So to answer your question, I don't know why that happens, to be honest. I don't. Sorry.
Seb, so a couple of questions for you, Seb. So who do you think had more shots, Spurs or West Ham in the game? Who had more shots?
I'd say Spurs edged it.
Shots on target. Who had the most?
Yeah. I don't know. Probably about the same, 3 or 4. I haven't seen 3 or 4 each.
4 to West Ham, 3 to us. They had more shots on target with 30% possession, and it was the pattern of the game. I think they did allow us. You said it in the WhatsApp group that we started the second half quite sloppily. I think there was a chance for Paqueta where I think Bentancur was passing it out and just a bit sloppy, and it was past a sort of good turn from Paqueta, and it was close, that one. That one was obviously off target, but it was a strange start to that second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, it was. And as you said, Bren, it's something that we're not really used to. We score a large amount of our goals in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half, and then again towards the end of the game. That's where the majority of our goals have come from this season. I feel like I don't want to pick Ange apart. That's certainly not what I'm here. What I want to do and what I'm here to do. The feeling that I had watching it, however, is that our attacks now, one-dimensional is way too harsh to say, but we are trying to score, in my mind, a certain type of goal all the time. We don't score a variety of goals. We don't hit bangers from outside the box, for instance. We are the 2 goals that I see us scoring very regularly are, as we did tonight, the kind of cross, isolating a man on one side of the pitch to get a cross in to find the on-rushing player, which is normally the opposing winger. And then also the kind of semi-counter-attacking goals where we have an overload, normally through the middle of the park. We then have players moving wide, as Son did, for instance, against Luton. The variety in our play is something that is starting to worry me just a little bit, because I kind of get it with Ange. When it works really well. It's easy on the eye. You're almost walking the ball into the net, as we've seen. Johnson, Werner got goals where they're almost on the line when the ball comes across, and they just have to tap it in. It's why I think Werner will score goals for us, because we're not asking him to shoot from 20 yards out. We're asking him to shoot from 2 yards out. But I saw it again tonight. It is worrying.
That's
an
unfortunate freeze.
What Mark said. Oh, sorry. It's a little bit worrying for me that even when we do the substitutions, they are like for like substitutions. we are still trying to score and do everything in this very fixed pattern. And if teams cotton on to the pattern, there doesn't appear to be a lot of diversification from it. And I felt like we could have played another 45 minutes tonight, maybe, and not being able to score. And at the same time, we didn't look very threatening. We didn't look very threatened. I did think that Romero stepping up into the midfield. Essentially, what happened was, I think that the instruction was Van de Ven has certainly got the pace to look after Antonio on his own. Udogie and Porro did great jobs, I thought, defensively, as well as getting forward on Bowen and Kudos. And therefore, Romero, you step in, and actually that's what pinned West Ham back. The ball kept coming back, and Romero was just there, and then just started spraying it wide again. And we built and built and built, but we were building in exactly the same way all of the time. Never a shot from 20 yards. Never, just no variety. Sorry, I know I've gone on a bit there. No. I hope my internet didn't.
Full.
I think Moyes. I think I hear what Seb's saying. I think you've got to give Moyes a little bit of credit. I think he sets his teams up really, really well defensively. We kept the width, unlike we did unlike what we did at the weekend, where obviously Kulusevski came in looking for the ball and really clogged that middle area. We kept our width, but still they were so well organised as like a back 4 and a 5 with Ward-Prowse, Souček, really, really working hard in the middle of the field. Kudos coming back in and being really, really narrow. You have to play it wide. I mean, we tried to do this kind of little tiki-taka, what I call B-Tech, Barcelona tiki-taka, and try and go through the middle. It just wasn't working. So I think you have to give Moyes a little bit of credit. He does set up well defensively. We do score similar goals. Seb is correct that way. I can't remember the last time we hit from outside the box. Probably Maddison, probably before his or I think maybe Sarr scored one from outside the box. But tonight, the thing I think that really is beginning to worry me a little bit is how much that Romero just stands on the ball and waits for something to happen in front of him. He's doing it a lot now. He's standing with his studs on top of the ball, and he's looking for movement. And it's normally Sarr coming to his left into the 6, and then we start that way. I do think sometimes we could just be a bit more direct. I think we could loft the pass out to the wings. Romero can pass the ball, so can Mickey Van de Ven. Just loft it out quickly, bypass our midfield and hit a wide player quicker. Try and proactively try and make the defensive team do something different. I think we could try that every now and then. But
something that Højbjerg did actually when he came on. Højbjerg did actually move that ball quickly and wide and out, and that Son was on the wing then as well. And actually, I do wonder whether we might see in the next game Richarlison start and Son move left, because it did just for 5 minutes. Son ran at the West Ham defence and they backpedalled, and we hadn't done that barring the first 5 minutes. No one was backpedaling into their own area. So it might just be something that we see if Richarlison's able to gain some fitness.
Rachel, on that, Seb does make a good point about the variance in goals. We've not seen a Sonny screamer for a while, have we? And I don't know if it's more him feeling that he needs to be involved more in the play as the captain, or is it under instruction not to shoot? Because there was one, I remember it was the first half in that 20-minute spell. I think it might have been Bentancur that did have a shot from outside the air, and I was like, "Hello, when was the last time he had a shot?" So it's we do miss those Sonny screamers, don't we?
Yeah, and also, I mean, there was one bit right at the end where he was through, wasn't he? And I think we all thought, "Oh my God, we've got Burnley, the Burnley Puskas goal coming up again." But West Ham did very well getting back. I completely agree. I think we are very predictable. Our goals, we've scored lots of very good goals at very good times, but they aren't screamers. In fact, there was a compilation from the Premier League just before the Luton game. I think they had something like 30 goals. And there wasn't a single Spurs one in terms of, all their beautiful goals. I mean, I think Richarlison's at Everton should have been in there.
Yep.
But that's probably the most, what really sort of contender for goal of the month or whatever that we've had. I don't think we've had many. And yeah, it's getting very frustrating. And certainly today, we were just going backwards and forwards in and out of their two lines. And you could just see we were never going to get there. And there was the odd bit where you thought Werner I just felt, if you'd just been half a second faster to come in, there were a few things that we could have done. But I also agree about Romero. You just know that he gets the ball. He's got this fantastic way of standing with his chest out, foot on the ball. And if he were our logo or something, fantastic. But he's not. He's supposed to be starting the next phase of play. Exactly. And it just slows everything down again. And it is frustrating, but it's more frustrating when we haven't won. Obviously we do win a lot, so and it works, and it gives everyone a chance to sort of reset, I suppose.
I was thinking, I said to you, Rachel, in WhatsApp, this game felt a bit like the West Ham game at home, just without those freakish goals that we gave away. I think if you remember, there was one from, I think, Udogie, the back pass, and there was a ricochet and it fell to Ward-Prowse or something like that. And that's how they won. We didn't do enough to win, but we certainly didn't deserve to lose. And this game today as well, I think that we probably didn't do enough to win, but we didn't deserve to lose either. A draw was probably about right. And that's a testament to how West Ham set up. Paul, just quickly on the subs. So we took off Madders and, oh God, was it not John? Was it Werner? Who did we take off for Sarr and
Bentancur.
Bentancur.
Yeah. But can I also just quickly ask, why did Maddison play so deep so often? Because I thought he was actually, he was sort of right back with Romero and Van der Ven quite a lot. Which
I think when you push a Doggy and Pedro Porro into that midfield to invert the fullback, so to speak, to make extra midfielders, and they play as almost like the forward breaking eight, I think that it does get quite congested in there, and I think sometimes James has to come and look for the ball as well. I think also as well he's hoping that maybe one of their midfielders, maybe Ward-Prowse or somebody like that, or Paquetá is going to come with him, and that's going to create space for someone else. I think James is quite good at that, as basically sacrificing with his movement for space for his teammates. But I think Seb made the point 2 or 3 weeks ago that we did, where it is slightly worrying when you see your playmaker, inverted commas, coming that deep to get the ball. But I think it's because what they're trying to do, I think James tries to draw somebody, 1 or 2 players to come with him, and that creates space for someone else. Certainly what he tried to do at Luton, because they went man for man for us in the middle of the park at the weekend. But it is annoying because I think even Robbie Savage in commentary tonight said it's disappointing to see Maddison not being played further forward. But saying that, Bentancur and Basuma do have a really good understanding, and they kind of give him a passing option and stuff like this as well. So it is concerning. I agree, Rachel, that he has to come that deep sometimes. But I think also that he does draw people with him that gives space for other people to exploit.
I thought we did cover this a couple of pods ago, and then I noticed it again tonight. I feel like actually I didn't think Maddison played badly today with his passing range. I think the players that received the ball after that first 20 minutes, particularly on the wings, didn't do anything with it. It's one of these things with Maddison where if the ball goes out to Johnson or Werner or another player in the wide position, and then they do what Ange Ball they're supposed to do in Ange Ball, which is move that ball, shift it quick, and then get it across into the box. Then you look at Maddison playing essentially the assist of the assist, and we're all praising him because his passing was very accurate tonight. But unfortunately, West Ham went very, very tight, we didn't do pretty much between 20 and 65 minutes. We didn't do anything like that. And therefore kind of Maddison's impact is less, and he paid the price, I think, with coming coming off. Actually, I thought when Kulusevski came on, it did actually create something different because he certainly didn't drop back. And we pushed right forward, as I said, with Romero, but Kulusevski was part of that as well, kind of pushing right on. He didn't come back to receive the ball. I think it's a bit of a shame because not only, I said this when we talked about it a couple of pods ago as well, is not only do you lose something with bringing Maddison back, but actually you've got two centre-backs in Romero and Van de Ven who are very capable of shifting that ball forward and finding that pass. And as we said, it was only really when Højbjerg came on that you had that kind of defensive midfielder that was actually spraying the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just I still feel like we haven't. I'm not sure Ange knows his best 11. I'm not sure we know the best 11 at the moment in terms of, I wonder if we'd all pick a different midfield. Maybe we'd all pick 3 different attackers in various positions. Certainly, I think the back four and obviously the goalkeeper is sorted. But it's interesting because there are lots of options now and options off the bench. And we saw on Saturday how that can work. But actually, sometimes you might look back and think the wrong starting lineup was picked, or it's almost now, I wouldn't say too many options, but maybe there is. Maybe there are too many options, too many players to keep happy, too many players in and out of form. When we were really struggling with our injuries and things like that, we kind of, when we could all pick the lineup, maybe that worked a bit better. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's not an opinion. It's just a thought.
Rachel,
Sorry, mate, go on.
I was just going to ask Rachel what she thought of the subs. As we said, we saw Sarr come on at the same time as Kulusevski for Maddison and Bentancur, and then later on Højbjerg and Richarlison came on. Do you agree with Seb that a lot of it is like for like, or did they bring something different when they came on? Did you notice something different from them?
Well, yes. I mean, I certainly, when it was happening, I thought it's like for like. I do think Højbjerg is very good in that last 10 minutes of a game, and not just to see a game out, but because, as you said, Paul, I think, or maybe it was Seb, sorry. Somebody said that he is able to spray the ball around and and do something different. So we're not just making the short ticky-tacky passes. I think he's very good at that. I was interested to see Kulusevski coming on in a position that he apparently that is he likes to play number 10. But I just felt disappointed. I felt disappointed that Maddison went off again, because to me, he is just so magical. And he is the sort of maverick who will come up with something different. If somebody else was doing what he was doing at the back, making space so that he could pounce on it. And I just felt I would love to see Maddison, Son and Richarlison together.
Paul, you were going to say something then?
Yeah, I didn't agree with the Maddison sub. I think it was Phil Ambrose, who's probably still in our chat. He's one of our patrons, said he looked pissed off when he walked off, and he did. It wasn't fitness related. I think Maddison's moving quite well. He was moving okay at the weekend as well. He got clipped early in the game, and I think it was Paquetá then body checked him, and that was a foul. I mean, that was a rugby league. You'd probably get sin binned for that because you didn't wrap the arms. It would be a sin binning offence in rugby. He got body checked. So that's how you knock James Maddison out of his stride, literally and figuratively, in a game. You get in his face, you rough him up a little bit, and he tends to kind of start to whine and moan at the ref. But he come back into the second half, and I agreed with Phil in our Patreon. He looked pissed off. I didn't think it was the right decision by Ange. I think I said that. I said, no, Ange, no, that's a mistake. Bentancur for Sarr, I agree. I think Sarr has got legs. I think he could have tried and exploit. He could try and get across the field and make overloads with the wide player and the fullback on either side, which I think we were really missing as well. But Kulusevski's in a bad run of form at the minute. Some of his passing sight was junior. He had a really square, easy ball off his left foot to make and he played it behind, I think, Son at one point, and we had a really good chance near the end, and he chose to any under-hit a pass, and it was just, these are things that we need him to do. I know he only came on for 20 minutes, but we need him to execute these things better, and he's not doing that at the moment, which is a real shame. And Richie is just playing himself back into fitness, and when he came off of Werner, I thought Richie had a, he tried to affect things the way Richie does, but after getting the subs so right at the weekend, I thought Ange didn't get many of the subs right tonight.
Well, before we wrap up the game, anything else to add before we move on to the Nottingham Forest game on the weekend?
Is that the worst refereeing performance we've had this season?
Probably not. I didn't think it was that bad. Was it that bad? Like there was obviously the challenge on Maddison, but there's been worse, surely, no?
The Van der Ven yellow for maybe just flicking the ball away. Was that a yellow card?
Yellow.
That was the yellow. That was a yellow.
Yeah.
You don't do that. It was stupid. It was stupid. He knew what he was doing. He knew what
Ref wasn't going to do anything until Antonio threw his hands up in the air like a 12-year-old. Oh, ref, he's thrown the ball away. Quick, book him.
Still, mate. The rules are there.
Such a good impersonation.
I thought Paquetá should have been booked a lot earlier than what he was. He carried on his, if you watch the performance against against England for Brazil, what he did to Bellingham, so very similar to what he did to Maddison. I would just like to add, I would have taken Maddison off. I didn't think he had very much impact at all. And as Paul said, he's too easily affected. And not wishing to sound like you, Brem, but I wish he'd get his bloody haircut, because I'm sure when he had his shorter haircut at the start of the season, he was flying, and now he's got like this bit of kind of half a mullet type thing going on at the back.
So is Højbjerg. Højbjerg's got the same. They go to the same hairdresser.
Yeah, need to get that cut, and I'm sure he'll find his form.
So yeah, we're going to move on to, we got Forest. Oh yeah, so 1-1 draw, not too bad. We move on. We didn't do enough to win, and we didn't lose. So I'm content, if not a bit frustrated. Missed opportunity. Forest on the weekend, Rachel. I'm assuming you're going.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been really it's difficult, this one, because you know it's been moved twice.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a supporters trust, we're here to represent the interests of fans, and match-going fans particularly. And we always complain, of course, when it's not great when matches are moved at all for television, especially as the Premier League and the broadcasters often miss their deadline. The deadlines have already been moved from 6 weeks to 5 weeks. They still manage to miss those normally. Oh, well, not normally, but often. And then this time we were consulted about what to do, because basically, because there's so much industrial action, there's going to be no trains. There were one station out of the usual 6 would be able to be open. And it's not just about how awful it would be for fans to get to the game, but actually what meant that they wouldn't be granted a safety certificate is that they couldn't guarantee that staff could get to the game. And so you can't have it that all the stewards can't get there and then all the fans are, but they can't open the stadium. So the alternatives were untenable, like partial opening or behind closed doors even. So obviously we were very supportive of the club to move it, but we weren't consulted on when it would be moved to, and it's been moved to 6 o'clock on a Sunday night, which is sort of the worst, most unpopular possible slot. And we know that for lots of people, they're coming from Scandinavia, from all over the place. They're not coming just from South Tottenham, and they've already booked their flights, their hotels. So they're incurring huge extra costs. So we're trying to support individual cases that are particularly severe. It's not something we ever normally endorse, but we do understand on this particular occasion that it's it's better than nothing. But it's such short notice as well. But in terms of the match, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I think this is just what we need.
Return of Nuno. Nuno's back. Guess who's back? Back again, as Eminem would say.
because they've just beaten Fulham 3-1, so they're coming into this with a win.
Oh,
under
great!
their belt.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Brent. Yeah, great. Yeah.
I think it is. I think it is good news because I think it'll be an open game, and I think we'll win, and I think it could be quite convincing because I think Forest come to play. When I've watched them recently, trying to think of the game that I saw certainly since Nuno's gone in, they're trying to play football. And fair play to them. And I think they've been on the end of some pretty dodgy decisions. Certainly, I think it was against Liverpool. They had, and they played very well that day. And I think that wasn't the first time. I think they are. If you kind of follow these leagues or whatever, of kind of wrong decisions that went against teams, then Forest are top of that league. So I think it'll be entertaining, and I think it will be it could be quite end to end. They've got some good players, Forest, and I didn't like Nuno when he was with us, but I do like what he's done since he's gone there, because it was a hard act to follow. I think Steve Cooper is obviously very, very well liked, and people didn't want him to go. Forest fans, but so to come in and kind of take over, certainly under pressure. His last Premier League job, Nuno, with us was a nightmare. So it's a big job for him to take on. From what I've seen, they look like they're doing. Look like doing all right. Maybe the results haven't gone. Obviously, big win tonight for them, and I think they'll come to play. I'd be very surprised if they don't. I'd be very surprised if they stick 10 men behind the ball.
Cool. Hopefully, they'll make you proud.
Yes, exactly.
Aren't you? Hey, Shorts, aren't you coming down for the game?
I am. Yes, I am. Big thanks to Jim on Patreon, who's helped me out find a ticket. And I should be down for the match. God knows if I'll get back, but I'll give it a go. Trains are crazy.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, while we're here, we did obviously have the Luton game on the weekend where we had the protest against the concession changes for seniors, with fans turning their backs on the 65th minute to symbolise. Is that something that is going to continue? Is it going to grow? What's the latest? How involved is the trust in these? And like I said at the beginning, has there been any encouragement from the club that they may look at this again?
Well, I mean, we're in constant talks with the club. We had a meeting with them last week to talk to them again. Basically, there's room for all sorts of different types of protests, and I think it's really unhelpful. Most people can see that. Some people sort of say that there's no point just moaning. We're not just moaning. We are all trying different things to try and get the club to see. So we've been, as a trust, we've been particularly obviously directly having conversations with the directors at Spurs and putting the case to them that just because Arsenal did it first and they're practically getting rid of concessions completely, it doesn't mean we have to. We're better than them. Mm-hmm. We've always been very good at inclusion and, building a communal feeling amongst the fan base. Well, we have our moments anyway. But we've gone from having a fantastic offer to probably the worst. And it's just untenable. To what is good is that at least that it's now a year away. Rather than immediate. So we are going to be lobbying them. We're going to all be protesting for a year. This is not going to stop because it's seniors now. It'll be young people next. Concessions, if you're going to start saying that people on concessions are blocking seats for other people, which is literally what's being said, then you're going to stop having concessions for anybody anywhere. We've also heard that, for example, in the premium areas where some disabled supporters are, their personal assistant is having to now pay 50%. They're not in premium because they're wealthy. They're in there because they are disabled and not able to be outside, because they're ill. or whatever, because of their disability. But basically, we've written to Richard Masters at the Premier League to sort of query the Rule 8 about whether does this actually mean that the club are following the rule about you have to have concessionary rates. And I think, again, it just shows the need for independent regulation, because they're just sort of bat it back at the clubs and say, well, the clubs have to interpret how they see this. And so what we're doing is also we're showcasing examples of supporters who have been following our club home and away through thick and thin, through good times and bad. They are the people who really know and love the team, the club. And to me, they are the lifeblood of the club. And yet now they're being told that they're not going to be given a concessionary season ticket when they are on a flat rate pension. They can't do anything about it. They're on a fixed rate. They're basically being told that they are a nuisance and we don't want you to have a season ticket. But if you want to give up your season ticket, you can still buy a concessionary match day ticket. So it's such a clear message. We want to be able to sell your season ticket to someone who will pay the full whack, but you can try to get a ticket. Everybody who has to, who's on a membership knows how hard it is to get tickets. The queues are ridiculous. The older you get, the more of a challenge. I'm sorry, but it is trying to get in at the right time, get in the queue, to get that. Why the hell should that happen? And that one of the arguments used is that seniors are passing on their season ticket on matches that they can't go to, but they're getting a full price back. Well, when you get older, guess what? You get ill more, and so you can't come. But it's not that person's fault that if you sell your ticket the official way that the club have arranged for you to sell your ticket, that you can't sell it any other way. That is the only way you can pass it on. And just because the club's software doesn't allow you to sell it at a discounted rate that you got it for, that doesn't mean that you're cheating. It means they need to get their act together and sort it out. So anyway, they have addressed that bit now, but they're still taking away the whole any future concessions. And I've had arguments with people on social media saying, yeah, but it's 1 in, 1 out. Once you die, someone else will be able to get a ticket. No, they won't. They're gone. It's not that there's a cap. They're gone. Nobody from next year will be able to get a senior concession season ticket. And I think that's such a stinkingly bad look.
How many fans, sorry to jump in, how many fans does this affect? How many are currently receiving concessions?
We haven't got the exact numbers. I mean, what the club say is that it's 4 times more than it was at White Hart Lane, whereas the crowd has doubled in size. So I think we're talking about maybe 4,000, something like that. But it's just such a bad look. So we're fully behind all the campaigns and certainly the standing with your back to the pitch on the 65th minute. I think it went really well. I heard your podcast after the Luton game, and Paul, I think you said that was it you, Paul, who said that you were looking the other way, but you couldn't really see the south stand, obviously, because you were looking the other way. The south stand was very, very strongly standing with their back. They did have the luxury of having the screen so they could still see the game. Where it was really irritating because we were attacking. And
we were playing quite well at that point as well. I was like, what I did like about this, was that it seems to been it's been very widely publicised. There was a lot of leafleting before the game. Seven Sisters coming up. Tottenham House Station, I believe there was somebody leafleting there as well. So it's good to see that there's as I said in our podcast, there's a groundswell. It does seem that this is mobilising. This is just not some kind of like maybe 5 or 10, 15, 20 loudmouths on Twitter. This these are people actually, and I think that's good. And I think if you can try and keep that momentum going, you'll get some traction. You'll get some traction. I know Eccleshare was talking about it. I know Danny, friend of our pod from View from the Lane, he was talking about it as well. Even though he's in Ireland, he's talked about it on Transworld Sport, on Talk Sport. He's shown Talk Sport. So if you're getting that kind of traction, that's good. That is good, isn't it? And you need to, and I hope that momentum continues, because the optics are so bad. They're so bad about this, and just hearing you talk about there, Rachel, about stuff that we don't know what's going on. You have these conversations day to day or week to week, emails and correspondence. It's good to see that that you are, and there is a real hardcore fans like behind this, which is good, which is really good, because it's a bad decision.
It's a terrible decision, and I would urge anyone who is affected and wouldn't mind their story being told on social media, if they could email us at the Trust on info@thhstofficial.com. We would love to hear from you, because we've been putting tweets up, and we want to continue that, just really showcasing the variety of people that it's affecting.
Can I interject if I can? And firstly, I'll say, obviously it's an appalling decision. I really do think, Rachel, you have absolutely got your work cut out, however, and I do think, and this is only my opinion, and I'm not saying this to be controversial, I'm saying this because, as I said, it's an awful decision, but I think that the club will hope that this, no matter how much noise is made, no matter how many protests there are, that this is something that eventually will get swept under the carpet, particularly if we're successful on the pitch, particularly if we can qualify for Champions League and things like that. It will get lost. And I think one of the key points, so you mentioned that the cost of the concession ticket, and you said two things. You said that what they hope the club want is someone. Well, they don't like the fact that if you're selling, if a elderly person, let's say, is selling the ticket, that they're getting money back that the club would wrongly deem to be theirs. But also what I wanted to kind of mention was, I don't think the cost of the ticket is necessarily the issue as far as the club are thinking. The issue is that these people who've been going 50, 60 years, I have family members who have season tickets and things like that, who are concessions. I have good friends who've been going longer than I've been alive. That's not the problem. The problem is that these people are in a set way where they perhaps turn up come down to London from wherever they come from, and they go to a pub and they walk in the ground at 10 to 3, and then at 10 to 3 when there's a 3 o'clock kickoff, obviously, and then they depart at 5 o'clock and they are done, and the money that they have spent is minimal, if any. It's just that one payment for that season ticket. What the club obviously would prefer is that people come from South Korea or further, and they are making a day of it, and they bought tourist tickets that cost an absolute fortune, and they go to the club shop and they spend £200-300, and
well, if I could just
the bar, and they stay afterwards and they join on. That is the issue, and unfortunately, that is what every club sees now. We cannot forget. As painful as it is, we all want our club to go out in the summer and spend. If we qualify for the Champions League and we spent 105 million, as for instance, on Declan Rice, which I don't think we will ever do, but as a matching, for instance, we would all be delighted. And that money comes from ripping off the fans. I'm sorry, that is where it comes from. And the more money that the stadium generates through all manner of things that very clever businessman, not very clever football fan, but very clever businessman, Daniel Levy, comes up with, and he's done very, very well with. This is just another business decision. And I think it as kind of puts a little bit of sick in your mouth, for want of a better word. But I can't see that if they do it for one thing, if they scrap this, mark my words, they will find the money through screwing someone else, because we are just customers, we are not fans, and that's just the way it is now.
I mean, so much of what you said, I think you're spot on. It is absolutely about who's going to go in the shop and buy everything, and I would agree with you that seniors are not going to be going in the shop every week buying a new shirt every week. However, to say that freeing up season tickets to people is going to improve that, I'm not convinced. I would have thought that actually you'd be better off, keeping people in the season tickets, and then having better control over touts, so that the club are getting all the money from the from the resales, and then then making sure that you have got fresh people coming in and using the shop and everything else, and they have put the thing in place now from next season, so that when seniors sell their tickets on, people have to make up the difference. So that has been addressed. But yeah, I do agree. But you'd be surprised how many pints an old person can put away. Point.
Would they do that at the halfway line, or would they do it at the Antwerp or the Beehive? But yeah, like it's something that is close to my heart. My Tottenham experience began. I used to go with an elderly couple. They were the parents of the people that my parents played bridge with. That's how elderly they were. And so for me, that the seniors are like Rachel said, are the lifeblood of the club, and they're the ones that will be singing. They're the ones that have got the stories to show. We need them there. Like the people that I used to go with have been going since the 60s, long since passed away, but just the most amazing people. And for us to be shafting them, it just, like Seb says, it leaves a horrible taste in the mouth. And so hopefully that these protests will go some way to at least, if they won't change their mind on this, at least think twice before they screw over the next demographic of supporter that they want to. So it's not over yet. Go on, Rachel.
Yeah, and we'll be writing to the culture secretary, and this is not finished. It's a multi-pronged attack, and we've already got various other things lined up. But obviously, we would just encourage everybody to get involved. Do join the trust if you're not already a member. You can join for free, or as a full member. But the more people we have, the more voices we can speak to directly. The more voices we want heard. So yeah, please do get involved.
Yeah, we will put the how to join the trust in the pod description and in the comments here, and also we'll obviously tweet it out as well after this has been published. We've been going for an hour, guys, and we've lost Paul. So I think it's time to call it a day. So Rachel, thank you so much for joining.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, lovely to see you again. And Seb, great to see you again, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's great to have Rachel on. Yeah, very insightful and knowledgeable. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Cool. And do watch out. I think there'll be another YouTube out during the week, and I'm going to Colombia tomorrow, so I'm assuming Franco's going to be back from Cairo with such jet setters at the cheese room to do the pod for the win against Nottingham Forest on the weekend. So thank you for watching, and as ever, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.